Hello.
Good morning, sir. How's it going?
It is going. I built
Hey,
something in
you
my
built something.
backyard.
Oh, physical.
I channeled my inner Aaron Francis.
Tell me.
Uh, so we were doing a big barbecue this weekend for the whole
Of
family,
course.
extended family, the whole thing. We haven't talked about this on here, but I got a Traeger grill.
Oh,
I don't know if you know what
cool.
that is. With it's like
Mm-hmm.
the pellet grill. It's very
Yeah.
cool.
Fancy.
My 14-year-old is loving it. He smoked a brisket for the barbecue.
That's
So
what I'm talking about. You
another
didn't even have
another
to do it.
yeah, it's great. So anyway, we're doing this big barbecue. Whatever, it's gonna be kids, blah blah. It's gonna be hot. We don't have a pool or anything like that. Like, what are we gonna do with all these kids? So I decided to build a slip and slide
No.
because first of all, I decided last minute, so I couldn't really buy one. The only ones around were like these like $9. I mean, it's like 7 feet long for
Right.
like a tiny baby. You slide down it, So these are all, except for 1 or 2 kids, they're all like 12 plus. So
Mm-hmm.
they need something more stable. So I spent hundreds of dollars. I way
Yep,
over
of course.
constructed.
Of
I
course.
got
Yep.
landscaping, 6-inch landscape, perforated tubing for the
Okay.
edges to contain the children in the
Yep.
water. I got
Smart.
some 6 mil, like 30-foot long tarp thing. I
Yep.
got like an under drop cloth made of
Like a pad?
like a pad almost. Like it's like a painter's drop cloth also, but like a permanent one. It's like a
Uh-huh.
canvas kind of material.
Canvas. Yeah.
So this way too, if there's like sticks or anything, not gonna break the thinner plastic
Oh.
top layer, right?
You went all out.
Yeah, we got
This is big time suburban dad. I love this.
we got steaks, so I staked it down. ChatGPT told me how to construct it, right? So I'm following through. It did a very nice job. The construction worked out very nicely. Yeah, it was cool. I haven't built anything in a
Ah,
long time. So
I love it.
yeah.
How did
Now
how did it work?
kids loved it. It was
Yeah?
great.
Did
Yeah,
you didn't take a turn?
I didn't take a turn, no.
Ah,
But didn't rip.
okay.
Took all their abuse. They were running on it. They were throwing things down it. They were doing all the stuff. They were whatever. 4 of them were going down together.
Classic.
Tubing contained them.
You have a good
Bought some
hill for it?
pretty good hill. Yeah, I think it's actually a perfect hill because was not so steep that it's like insane, but
Right.
a good pitch. The only problem is at the end of this hill, you may have seen. We
What's
used
at
to have
the
a
end of the hill?
place we used to giant cliff.
30
No,
foot drop off.
yeah. No, there was a place set we used to have, and the
Okay.
place set was on this like railroad ties built
Yeah.
up and then stone in it. And I sawed all the place set out, but the railroad ties and base is still there. So we got some hay bales for like a sort of crash zone.
You bought hay bales just for the slip and slide?
Yeah.
You did spend hundreds of dollars. This is crazy.
What's up with hay bales? Hay's
What's the
cheap.
deal with hay bales?
Come on. How you
Come
charging
on.
me $20 a bale? How
It's
you charging me
unbelievable.
$20 a bale?
It's
grass.
Who's your bail guy? You gotta get at least $10 a bail. That's the most I'm paying.
I should have gone to like there's an ag way. It was farther away. So I just went to this like local garden center place, which obviously is
You
like
went to the
dollar.
homeowner place, and that's how they get you. Yeah,
exactly.
They know you're not serious when you go into the homeowner place looking for
They're
a
like,
hay
we
bale.
can if
Yeah.
they first of all, this guy he only ever needs 1 or 2, right? We can just charge infinite money. It doesn't matter. Like he's
setting up
something.
some kitschy photo shoot for his kids.
Exactly.
We can charge him whatever we want. Yep.
That's exactly what happened. So anyway, but it was fun. I get out there, built the thing. It's still back there. I gotta like undo it all now. I gotta figure out what parts I want to save, what parts I want to toss. Will I ever build it again?
So impressed. I am so impressed. Did you take a bunch of pictures?
Fun. I did take some pictures.
Okay,
I'll share them. Some are over on the Blue Sky. I did post a picture.
I haven't checked the Blue Sky in a minute. Okay,
yeah. So,
I'll go over there and look.
I'll send you a picture, but it was cool.
It would be nice. It would be nice to get an email after this episode airs with like a little bit of like ancillary content, a little bit of supporting material. That
we
would
should have
be
a tool
nice.
to do that.
We should have a tool to do that. That would be crazy.
Oh, I'm so close to that. I got sidetracked on some other stuff, and then
the slip and slide.
We can talk about this, but I haven't sent an email to our nicely building list now because whatever. I don't want to get into that yet. Let's do some weekend follow-up.
We'll do some weekend follow-up.
Yeah, there's some reasons that hasn't happened yet, but we're close.
Okay. Well, I want it, so keep pushing.
What's going on?
Well, I understand now why they call it a long weekend, because
More
it's a
hospital trips? What's going
no,
on?
it's just a long weekend, man. It was good. On Friday we went to the little, not neighborhood, I guess neighborhood. I mean, it's like
Mm.
Lake Highlands is just, it all rolls up into one high school. So it's not a neighborhood, but it's not a city, and I guess
Sort of
it's a
like your
town.
town
Yeah, I don't know.
zone thing, yeah.
Yeah. So we went to the little town parade.
Okay.
And it was great. It was great.
Kids love
I'm
that,
not
right?
Kids love that. I'm not a big parade guy, but
Me either.
having kids and seeing them have so much fun just changes it. It's like, I'm not there
Yeah.
for the parade, I'm there for my kids having fun. It's like, oh,
Yep.
well, that's great then.
Yeah.
Really, just anybody with a pulse can be in the parade these days, It's just like the most
Freak show.
random stuff. Of course, there's like the high school marching band and the drill team and the
Sure.
cheerleaders, and like all of that's really, fun and like
Mm.
hometowny. But then there's just a guy that has like he's got a Nissan a Nissan SUV pulling an old boat. And I'm like, where's the sign up list? How are you just like,
Alright.
hey, I got an idea. My car's from 2008 and I have a boat.
Right.
What if we're in the parade? And they're like, that sounds perfect. And so this totally normal guy, there's no
Uh,
sign on it. There's no like local chamber
no.
of commerce.
Yeah.
It's just a boat that kind of has some like red, white, and blue little tinsel on it. And his
Yeah.
kids are in the back throwing candy, which, you
Uh,
know what? It's
maybe
great.
that's the thing. Maybe
I
that's why he
love
was
it.
there. Yeah.
If you wanna drive in the parade and throw candy, that's great. But it was super fun. And then there was a carnival right after that we took the kids to. Fortunately, it
Mm.
wasn't a million degrees,
Oh,
so
interesting.
that was good. But, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's a long time. It's a long time. That's a lot of like, what are we gonna do with these kids?
Yeah.
I never want to be like, I'm special, but we also have a lot of very young kids, and it does feel
Sure.
slightly different than most people's experience. Like,
Yeah.
I have to imagine most people that have 4 kids, their kids span probably 8 to 12 years,
I think
right?
that's
So
true. Yeah.
you've got a newborn, you've got an 8-year-old, and you got a few in between. That's just so different than
Yeah.
having 2 4-year-olds and 2 1-year-olds.
Yeah.
It's just
That's
like,
crazy.
it's very, very difficult. And so trying to figure out, how are we going to fill all this time? What are we going to do? Kids are eating a bunch of candy from the parade. My stomach hurts. They're like, I'm too tired to sleep. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And so a lot of that kind
Oh
of
my
stuff.
gosh.
But I think, on the whole, it was good. I would say by post nap time on Saturday, I'm like, dude, we've still got a whole nother day and a half here of like, what are we gonna do with these kids? So that got a little difficult. But we saw my parents. My parents came in.
Mm.
They live here, but they came down on Saturday. Jennifer's parents were at the parade on Friday. Just, having family nearby. It's hard to beat.
Yeah.
Really hard to beat.
That is super key. It's
Yeah.
very nice to have the family break it up a little bit. Extra
Yeah.
set of hands with the twins, even just
Yes,
somebody
totally.
to hold a twin for a few minutes
Hundred
is good.
percent. Yes. Jennifer's parents held the baby twins the entire parade.
Right, there you
And
go. Yeah.
it's just so helpful. And of course, we go to the parade and we sit with Jennifer's parents and Jennifer's, sister and brother-in-law, and we see people we know, and it just feels very like we have a good community here, and
Right.
it's really quite nice. We see people
Yeah.
from church, we see people from the kids, YMCA soccer, we see cousins, and
Yeah.
cousins are in the parade. You're like, "Oh, hey.
Oh,
Hey, what are
wow.
you doing over there? That's crazy." So it was very good. A lot of fun.
Yeah, we did so I think I've talked about this before, but the world's longest pedestrian walkway is in our town, okay?
Oh, wow. Claim to
It's
fame.
an old railroad bridge over the Hudson. They turned into a walkway. We used to own a house directly under this railroad bridge where we
Mm.
lived, and then they decided to turn it into the world's longest pedestrian walkway. People could look in your windows, the whole thing. So we sold that house, whatever. Lost $100,000 on that house, which was lots of fun.
Classic.
Because surprisingly, it's hard to sell a house built directly under the world's longest pedestrian walkway.
I'm
So
shocked to hear this.
yeah, exactly. Anyway, that was 15 years ago. So water under the bridge.
Water
So
under the
up
walkway, but yeah.
water under the walkway. There you go. So they do fireworks every year in between. So there's like this walkway bridge, and then there's the car bridge, like maybe 1,000 feet down the Hudson. So in between, they shoot off a bunch of fireworks.
Fun.
But you gotta, you can buy tickets to go on the walkway at night, which is cool to be on the walkway at night because normally it closes at dusk. So you get up there, you go out there at night. But we bought the tickets, $100 for the tickets for all of us. And it's cool being up there at night. We'd never done this before, but the fireworks were so lame. It was just like,
oh no,
bink,
really?
bink,
What?
bink, 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 bink. Done.
What?
It's crazy.
That's like
Disney
6
fireworks
binks
are
and then
100
it's
times better.
over for $100.
$100, and there's thousands and thousands of people up there. They pulled in millions of dollars, and they gave us this little dinky fireworks show.
We got to start a fireworks scam. That's
Yeah.
easy. One day a year.
Exactly.
The hell are we doing?
I met someone in a casino once.
Of course.
Who I was probably in my like late 20s, and these were like maybe in the early 20s. These kids, it was brother and sister. They were the kids of the owners of the fireworks show that was going off at the Borgata. I happened to be at the Borgata on July 4th. They were there on July 4th running the fireworks show, and they say they actually travel all over, and it's like a huge pain in the ass. So I think it's then you're at like county fairs, and you're like, if you want to actually make a living, you got to go all over, and it sucks. Yeah, so that was a little disappointing because it was like crowds and walking and all the stuff, but it was cool to be up on the bridge at night. Whatever. That was our big thing. We did the barbecue. This is like, I think I've also said this before, but the kids are really hitting their peak this summer. I feel like it's like they're all big. They're interacting nice. We're doing stuff. They're getting along. We're getting along. They're learning things. They're all doing new stuff this summer and blah, blah, blah.
So freaking fun.
It's good, man. It's good. It's not just like us carrying the baby. I love the baby zone, to be fair. I'm always on Jamie like, oh, babies. I miss the baby time. Like the baby time was great. With little rose-colored glasses, obviously. But,
sure.
especially when they're like 3, it's like super cute. They say all those silly stuff and whatever. It's awesome. You can still pick them up, but, all that stuff. But it is very nice. We're kind of, now that they're all preteen and above, that it has its own rewards, and it's very nice. So yeah, that was kind of it. Good long weekend. Didn't feel long. Played golf for the first time this year.
Whoa, Eric Barnes in the house.
Barnes. Let me tell you a story about Eric Barnes. Eric Barnes.
Former employee of yours.
Former employee, runs Laravel News, huge golfer, member of the country club, lives in North Carolina, golfs every day, all year long.
Golfs every day.
Golfer, right? Every day, sometimes twice a day. He's big golf. Me and this guy, right, at the first Laracon, the very first Laracon, Washington, D.C., we are there early. We're like, we got nothing to do. Let's go play some golf. There's a golf course like right in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
Under like kind of the airport, basically. And we had no stuff. So the place will rent you clubs, but like we went and bought shoes. We didn't even like have shorts. We got shorts. We had buy stuff, equipment, whatever. We went out there and I beat Eric Barnes.
What?
I beat Eric Barnes. He wasn't golfing yet, like in a serious way. And I beat Eric Barnes, my claim to fame. I won the match. And then since then, now he's like, he just, pars everything.
Oh, he's going to absolutely destroy you at Laracon.
No, how he would destroy me. No. I'm not doing the golf thing, but if I was, he would destroy me.
I'm not doing the golf thing. I'm driving the golf carts, but I'm not doing the golf thing. Yeah. I know my limits. I'm not doing the golf thing.
So it was fun to say I got to beat Eric Barnes once in golf. But I had a birdie, which was nice, and I had a par.
Oh, wow.
I still, then I had like a snowman. I had lots of other bad shots. So it wasn't a good round, but that's an 8. He's a snowman.
No way. They call it a snowman?
Yeah, if you get an 8, that's a snowman. Yep.
Oh, that's kind of fun.
It's kind of annoying because I've been playing golf since I was like 15. And like when in high school, I played like every day. And I still am no good.
Still not that
annoying.
Good.
Nah.
Might not be your thing then. If you,
it's
you started at 15 and you're not very good, we might just want to call it and say
it's a cool thing. Like it's a cool thing you could do your whole life, which I like that part of it. But yeah, I know my middle kid is into it now, although he gets very frustrated because it's a hard game to master. And you have a good shot and you're like all excited, but then you have a bad shot, and then you have a snowman and you're very upset. We're working through it, but yeah. Also, when it was golfing, my first time, and also with my uncle who was literally dead 2 months ago. Guy was in the hospital dead. He was like right at the edge of death. And now we're golfing. He's out there golfing. It's unbelievable.
Well, you can't. How did they Lazarus him? What's the story there?
He had a pancreatitis. I think we talked about this, didn't we? Maybe we didn't.
I don't know.
We had pancreatitis. He was like very, very rough shape, very, very bad off. And he got through it. They injected him with all kinds of stuff and whatever. They didn't actually end up having to do surgery, but they just like, he was in there for like a month. And I was figured, and even once he got, got out, I was like, oh, I'll probably be, maybe we'll get out the end of the year because he
Right.
golfs like almost every day. And no, it's July 4th. We're out there golfing. So that was cool.
Wow.
Yeah, that was fun. And so
Good
me
for
and my
him.
son and my uncle went golfing.
Well, that's exciting. Sounds like
Yeah,
it
it was
sounds like a
exciting.
good weekend. I'm excited
Good
for you that
weekend.
you're in a good spot with your kids. So it
Yep. You'll get
sounds
there.
wonderful. I'm in a very good spot. I just want to be clear, but it's also extremely exhausting. Yes.
Get like 2 years from now, they're out of the diapers, they're walking around, then it's a whole new world. Then you have to keep them out of the street and like they're all running all over and there's gonna be 4 of them. That's gonna be probably tricky, but still better than carrying them. When you have to carry them everywhere all the time or stroller them, all the stuff.
Stroller them. Yep.
Wiping butts all the time.
Yep.
Like, yes.
I think once the older kids get to a more like mature and helpful phase, even I'm talking like 5 or 6 years old.
Yeah.
Like even that is going to just be like, oh, half of the hard part just went away.
Yeah.
And now we just have these 2-year-olds or 3-year-olds or whatever.
Even if they're not being actually helpful, it's like, even if they can just take care of themselves, that is the helpfulness. It's like, just go off and play, right? Like, go to the bathroom on your own. Like, great. Like, eat your food without me micro cutting it and like whatever. Like, all that stuff is huge. Yeah. You're almost there.
Almost there.
Goes like that.
I'm trying not to wish any time away. But it's tiring. So there we go. Good weekend.
Last week we talked about the broccoli-headed YouTuber guy.
Yes.
So this is crazy. We're watching. He's 50 states in 50 days. He's going through Ryan Trahan or whatever his name is. So he gets to New York over the weekend. Okay, great. He's kind of in an area we somewhat frequent, sort of interesting, whatever. He decides on his way to Connecticut, which is the next day, he's going to stop in Poughkeepsie, because why wouldn't you stop in a place called Poughkeepsie?
Okay.
And then he spends the day in my town all over, by Vassar, where I am all the time. He was by the walkway over the Hudson, which is the big walkway I just talked about, the world's longest pedestrian walkway. He was all over the place in Poughkeepsie, all in my town.
You didn't see him?
I didn't see him. It was it was actually 3 days ago or whatever. I would have been awesome to see him, but didn't see him. But it was cool. He was in my town, giving it some publicity.
Man, that's a genius part of this whole thing is people want to see him in their state / their town. That's cool.
Yeah, it's this whole thing. It's so genius. Every aspect of it is. I'm just in awe of the content planning and execution here. It's good stuff. Anyway, so what else is going on here?
All right, we could talk about outro. We could talk about the Mac Studio. We could talk about anything else. Which one of those 3? Which one do you want to talk about?
Let's do the Mac Studio.
Let's talk about the Mac Studio. Before we do, let's talk about Bento. Sponsor of this show. Bento is the email service provider that we use at Try Hard Studios. It is the refreshingly delightful, delightfully refreshing, who can say, email service provider for marketing and transactional emails. You can find them at bentonow.com. Someone on Twitter was talking about how they didn't receive my newsletter, and out of nowhere comes Jesse Hanley, founder of Bento, saying, let's debug together. And I was at the parade. So if you want world-class support, check out bentonow.com. This episode is also brought to you by a new sponsor. We love new sponsors. Flare by Spotsy is the all-in-one error tracking and performance monitoring for your Laravel application. You can find them at flareapp.io. And if you want to check out the performance monitoring, you can check out flareapp.io/performance-monitoring. Thank you to Bento and Flare by Spotsy for sponsoring this show.
Spotsy, OG Laravel community.
Yes. Haven't heard from Frake in a while. I wonder what he's up to.
He has a newsletter that I actually really enjoy his newsletter. It's very intermittent. I don't think it's monthly. Maybe it is monthly, but it's not. It's definitely not. It's every once in a while it pops in, but it is a nice aggregation of random but useful, like PHP/Laravel
lots
stuff.
And lots of PHP links. Yeah,
it's like that's kind of the focus, but it does highlight things I miss. I
wonder if he'll be in Denver. The Mac Studio continues to deliver. Continues to deliver.
It's a great
It's great.
computer just in general.
Oh,
My father has one. It's
great,
fast. It's like,
great
yeah.
computer. To catch up the dear listener, this is the video workhorse that Steve bought to do all of our course editing, exporting, transcoding, all of that stuff.
Mhm.
So it is a beast. I think it's like a $6,000 computer, right?
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah,
All the
yeah.
RAM, the big
It's an
chip.
M2 Ultra. It's got
Mhm.
192 gigs of
Yeah,
RAM.
that's what
It's
I'm
like
talking about.
it is purpose built to rip through FFmpeg as fast as humanly possible,
I love it.
basically.
Yeah.
So I got this machine now, right?
Hmm.
And I think last episode we talked about how I can control it from my MacBook Pro with all this built-in Apple stuff. Very
Yep.
cool. So I have that running, and I've got all my cameras running into that, so I can record and edit on that machine. Cool, neat, awesome. My website does a few FFmpeg things, including downloading YouTube videos, transcoding them, transcribing them, creating thumbnails, moving thumbnails out of them. So it does a bunch of
Hmm.
like heavy lifting stuff. And of
Yep.
course, on a VPS, it's taking 2 hours, 3 hours to
Right.
like transcode a 1 hour podcast,
No.
And so I'm thinking, wait, why don't I do that stuff, the hard part on the studio? And I'm like,
Okay.
I'm not gonna do that manually. And so I started thinking, what if I could just use that studio as a queue worker for a Laravel application? I'm like, oh,
Okay.
that seems pretty awesome. That's a
It sounds
very
like
Aaron thing to do.
video content to
Oh,
me is what
dude.
this sounds like.
Yes, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be a great video. So that's what I've done. I've set up.
Okay.
So when I deploy this new website that I'm like tinkering on,
Mhm.
I push it to Git, and Forge picks it up and deploys it onto a DigitalOcean droplet. At the same time, this Mac Studio is polling GitHub in this case, polling it every, I think it's 60 seconds, looking for new commits. And if it finds a new commit, it pulls it down. This is all PHP code, right? It's a single looping artisan command.
Okay.
So it pulls down the new code. It issues the command to stop the queue workers. And
Hmm.
so the queue worker will finish its current job, which is very important, but then it won't pick up any new jobs, and the daemon will just kill itself. So the
Right.
whole queue worker will die after it finishes the current job. Once the monitoring loop has observed that the queue worker is dead, then we do a little bit more stuff, and then we kill like the orchestration loop, that like long running command. So now we've pulled down the new code, we've like composer installed, we've cached the config, we've done all of that, and then that command just like goes away. It's dead. It's done. Apparently, on Mac OS, I guess X is what all of them are called now. But on Mac, there's a thing called launch agents where you can like put a plist file, which is one of those
Okay.
goofy like XML looking things.
Love
You can put
XML
it
file.
so old. You can put a plist, and it
Okay.
basically functions as supervisor. And so I
Ooh.
have a plist that's like, hey, this command, which is PHP artisan studio : run. That's the loop. That's the
Yeah.
brain. This command needs to always be running. And so after the new commit is pulled, everything is set up, the queue worker is killed, and the studio run command dies, Apple or Mac looks at it and says, whoops, that's supposed to be alive. And it starts it up again, and it starts a new queue worker, and we're running fresh code. And it
Look at this
is
guy.
awesome. It's great. And so one thing that I think I'm very happy with is the VPS does not reach into my home network at all. That sounds totally doable with Tailnet or Cloudflare tunnels or whatever, but I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not a
Yep.
networking guy.
Nah.
So the only place that these two things communicate is through the database. And so the VPS puts queue worker or queue jobs onto a specific named queue, just a queue called studio. And then the studio looks for jobs on that studio queue. And that's it. That's all. That's the only way they communicate. They don't speak to each other through any other private means or anything like that.
So you just have like the ports open so it can communicate with the database on the VPS.
Actually, I learned something new here.
Okay.
You can create an SSH tunnel.
Oh,
so
okay.
you can create an SSH tunnel whereby on my local machine, I forget what the port is, but I can hit like port 5433. I think 5432 is standard Postgres, but I hit 5433, and that goes through, because I've set up this SSH tunnel locally, that goes
Yep.
through the SSH tunnel into the Forge machines. Even the database, which is just running on a Forge box, even the database over there is not exposed to the wide world. And so locally, it just looks like I have a Postgres
Yep.
instance at 5433, but in fact, that is just being forwarded on to Forge.
You are a networking guy. You got tunnels set
You
up.
know, we're getting there. We learn something new every day. And the there's something called like I forget what it is. It's one of those weird homebrew packages, maybe like
Mm,
Auto SSH or something.
mm.
Um and I have that set up under a OSX launch agent as well. So every time the studio reboots, which is not terribly often, this
Right.
SSH tunnel comes back alive, and that infinitely looping studio run command comes back alive, and we're back online, baby.
And so the studio's pulling down the YouTube video. Like you're not, there's the VPS isn't doing it. Now the studio's doing all that, pulling it down,
Correct. Yeah.
then processing it, all that
So
stuff.
it's running YTDLP, which is
Mm,
like a Python library that like downloads YouTube videos.
mm.
And I'm having better luck with that running from a residential IP than from one of DigitalOcean's IPs. So it's actually gotten a lot better in
Interesting.
two ways. So I run YTDLP locally here in the studio, and then it does all the FFmpeg commands. It strips the audio. It creates like short little moving thumbnails, and then it puts all of that onto an R2 bucket.
Okay. So then it all goes to R2. That makes
Yep.
sense.
Mm-hmm. And
Interesting.
it's nice because it can do everything. Like it can write it can update the status of the YouTube videos in the database. So it's not like the only way they're communicating is the queue. The only
Right.
way they're communicating is the database, which means I have
Yep.
access to like set everything back. And so I don't have to tell the VPS like, hey, I did this, like go update everything. It's like, no,
Yep.
just run the job locally.
This is why we get along, because we're database centric guys. Like
Yes.
the database is the center of the universe.
Agreed.
Everything should be in the database. The database is how you communicate between things. Anything else it just ends up being crazy. It's too complicated. You got all this stuff, moving parts. It's like, no, the database holds it. That's the
database is it. Database is
Yeah.
the only rock. All else is shifting sand, you know?
Yes. So you're using Postgres.
I am using Postgres, yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Using Postgres for the vector support.
Oh, right. I remember that. Yeah. For transcriptions. And that's the other thing is like with Mac OS, it's like there's so much in there. There's like, 20, 30 years of stuff in there. And I'm like, I feel like I'm just like, I just have Windows up here. I'm using apps, but like there's so much it could be doing. I should be doing more probably.
Yep.
But
and this is another what is it? Bull or bear? Bull is good. This is another bullish on ChatGPT, because like I did not know any of this stuff
is how you
before.
figured it out. Yeah.
I didn't know that SSH tunnels existed, that you could just like open one and leave it open and talk through it. Totally awesome. Didn't really know. I knew that like login items existed. Like if you want to start an app, you can put it in the little login items thing in your preferences, right? Didn't know launch agents existed. Had no idea that was a thing. And then it wrote the initial version of like the infinite loop, where it pulls Git, pulls it down, does all the stuff. It wrote the first version of that. It got quite a bit wrong, but it got me, 60% of the way there, and then I just fixed it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the key to the whole thing.
It's great.
60%. I've been speaking of like Mac. I'm like, maybe. So we also had no power at the end of last week for a while. We thought we were going to do the barbecue with no power, which is pretty rare for us to have no power for a very long time. We had no power for like a day and a half. That was its own adventure. Which, the Rivian was great for that, because I just like hooked up extension cords to the Rivian and then ran these extension cords all through the house, which was kind of crazy. But it used like 7% of the Rivian's battery or something for a day and a half of like running 2 freezers and a fridge and internet and other stuff, charging people.
It can run 2 freezers and a fridge. It can pull that many, whatever that is, amps, watts, volts, joules, whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't have it's not like a crate. Some of them, I think, like the Ford Lightning, like you can actually hook up to the house. It has like the right inverter. Like you can power the whole house if you get the electrical side on the house setup. The Rivian can't do that. It's just like a normal-ish outlet, but yeah, it was
That's
okay.
crazy. I would
Yeah,
have
so
assumed you could run maybe a fridge or like, the TV or
yeah.
something, but running 2 freezers and a fridge, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think, they're never necessarily on for that long at the same time. Like,
Yeah, I guess that's
we're
true.
keeping it all closed. So it's like, okay, it kicks on for a little bit, it kicks off. We didn't, I think if you were trying to do like a toaster oven or something, like that's a lot of
Mm.
watts, or the microwave. So we didn't do any of that. But yeah, it was like pretty awesome. I was like, this is great. And I could just go get more charge if I needed to, which would take like a week or more, but you could just power up somewhere at the charging station. So anyway, that was part of the drama. But where was I going with this? Damn it.
I don't know. I don't know. We're talking about the Mac Studio. We were
The
talking about
Rivian, the Mac Studio. Oh,
Apple.
yes.
Apple.
Local LLMs. Do we need a local LLM?
Oh, yeah.
Because I had no
Yep, yep, yep,
power. I had
yep,
no
yep,
internet
yep,
in the
yep, yep.
beginning, because I was like, I figured the power would come back on. I don't want to run an extension cord all the way to the
Yeah.
basement and change everything over and unplug everything, whatever. But then it was obvious it wasn't coming back anytime soon. So I was like, whatever. But in between there, I was like, oh man, I missed, like, I can't do anything. How am I supposed to operate without my LLM?
Right.
So I was like, I kind of I think I downloaded Olama like a million years ago at the beginning of the AI stuff, but then I haven't done anything with it. But I don't know. I was like, maybe I should be doing stuff with it. Maybe we need a local model.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I downloaded Olama a while back and similarly didn't use it very much. But
Yeah.
I think, and this is great because I don't have to know. I'm not AI guy. I don't care. Whatever. I'm just gonna make something up here and I don't have to
Yeah.
care. I think DeepSeek is maybe one that is locally runnable because
I think so.
I think it's kind of small but still really
Yeah.
powerful. I don't really know. And I don't have to know. But yes, having a local LLM would be quite nice. Not only for situations like that, but also for like what Arvid is doing at Podscan, or maybe even some of the stuff I'm doing here, where it's like I gotta run a bunch of stuff through it, and it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be like perfect. What if I just did it locally? Yeah, I may figure that out. That may be a good use case for the studio. Yeah.
Yeah, you could put a bigger model on that sucker. Like, you could definitely do some inference on there. You gotta look into that. That's a
I
thing.
know. I know.
I mean, it costs like nothing is the only thing. It's already like pretty cheap. Like, what
It
you're
is
doing
pretty
can't
cheap.
possibly cost that much, but it would still be cool.
Still be cool. That's what it's all about.
And you have so much horsepower on there. It's probably faster. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, because I don't know
Maybe
what
not.
I don't know the GPU CPU mix trade-off characteristics. I would imagine it's got to be pretty GPU heavy, but I don't know. Beats me.
Well, it's I mean, the Mac OS's whole thing is like the RAM is shared between the GPU and the CPU.
True.
So I can allocate quite a bit of the RAM to the GPU, although there's still whatever other. It's still, I know the GPUs aren't as powerful as like the NVIDIA stuff.
Right.
So maybe the centralized server is still gonna be faster, but yeah, there's something there.
There's something there. And I also have in this studio as Q worker thing, I have a command where I can pause it. So I can say like, hey, I'm about to record, or I'm doing some editing right now. Don't run any Q jobs. Like, it doesn't matter. I don't care. And it also doesn't enter into an infinite reboot loop. So like, it looks specifically for this pause file, and if it sees it, it just doesn't process any Q jobs, but it doesn't like kill itself such that Mac would restart it again, and I'd just be hosed. So
could you just run it overnight even? Or do you need these things sometimes quicker than that?
I don't need them. No, I don't need them quicker than that. But I'm also recording like 10% of the time that I'm here in the studio. So like, well, just let it work. I don't know.
Just let it go.
Yeah.
I tried a thing we've talked about a long time ago, which is I was bored this weekend and it was a long weekend. This is the perfect time. I got this list of photo albums that I want built. Built. And then
you were going to hire somebody for this.
I was going to hire. I might.
Still, oh no.
I might still have to hire somebody. Shutterfly has this service. I was like, I'll try this service. You get supposedly a human designer for free. I don't even care. It's free, but it's for free. You can't even pay for it. It's for free. You upload. It says upload all your photos of the event. Don't edit anything. Upload them all. Our designer's gonna cull it and make it beautiful and design a book and whatever. So I was like, all right, this is cool. So I export the photos into JPEG of like whatever, 4 different events. I upload all of them to this service in 4 different albums, right? And they're separate. So if they even go to separate people, most likely, right? So like I'm getting a little bit of an A/B test here. Just maybe one of them's good. Maybe give the service the maximum shot. These albums are total trash. Like just total trash. Like worse than if you just did auto layout in Photos or whatever, or in Lightroom and just how to build it. Like just pictures of receipts, pictures of like just
No
random
way.
stuff. I'm like, this is not a human.
No
And it has a
way
little
they
spot
put
for
pictures
instructions.
of receipts
Yes,
in there.
pictures of receipts, duplicate pictures, all this stuff. It's like, and I'm like, I thought this was okay. You told me to upload everything. I uploaded 800 photos. I don't want 800 photos in this album. Like, I want you to go through them. That's the whole purpose.
Right.
And pick the good 150, whatever. And I'm even fine if you make the book on the thicker end, but like I don't want a 200-page photo album of receipts and duplicate pictures and all the stuff. So it was just trash. And I was like, so I was so disappointed because I really wanted to get this done. And we're going on vacation with my brother and my cousin in early August. And from our last trip, I was supposed to have the photo albums done, and that was 2 years ago. That was the beginning of our show. We did like the first or second show. I was in North Carolina, so that's the 2-year anniversary is coming up here. And I really wanted to have this photo album for them before we went back on vacation, but I don't know what's going to happen now because I really wanted to just outsource it. I mean, these aren't like fancy photos I took. These are just like with the phone, snapshots, great
pictures of receipts.
Yeah, pictures of receipts. So that was a disaster. Somebody out there, start this service, make a bunch of money.
So what do we think happened there? Do we think it's really an AI and they're just like throw them all on there? Do we think it's outsourced to the Philippines or
something like that, where it's like somebody with no training? I feel like the AI at this point would do a better job. Like I feel like the AI would be like, oh, this is a receipt. And you would just have a prompt that's like, don't put receipts in there unless like the person's instructions say to. Like, make sure it's a picture of a human or a Vista or whatever.
A Vista.
You know, I also think it's not AI because I just think it'd be too expensive. Like having to go through 800 photos, you don't pay for anything. So like, I just abandoned this, and they did 4 of these, and they're not getting any money from me. So like, I don't know. I think it's just a human going through there doing a terrible job. But even that,
you're like back on the hunt to hire someone to do this freaking task.
But I'm like, maybe it's not even the human's fault. It's like, because it's not even about if it's outsourced to some weird country. Because like they're still human, and they still would know that nobody wants a picture in their family vacation of receipts, and they wouldn't want 3 of the same picture in a row. So like, I don't know if it's like there's just some regular software behind it that's like attempting through some like non-AI but older machine learning-y type thing, and then maybe a human like gives it a super quick eyeball and takes out anything super egregious but doesn't even look at every page or something. But like, or they just pick the cover in the back because like the cover was fine on all of them, so it's like, okay, like they got a real picture for the cover. I don't know, man, but it was rough. Don't use this service.
Once you're done with outro, you can crack that nut. You can figure that out, because I want to use that. I want to upload all the pictures from 2016, one year at a time. I want to upload all the pictures and have year family albums.
Yep. I thought about
every year that passes, I get further behind.
You're way behind. Oh man, I don't know. Yeah, let's talk some outro stuff.
Let's talk some outro. Why don't you pay the bills first?
Yeah, shoot, you're so good at this. This is why we need outro, because I forgot to pay the bills. All right, let's do it. Okay, our friends over at Forward MX, an email forwarding service great for side projects. Collect all the emails from your different domains in a central inbox, like your Gmail, and reply from your domains using our SMTP functionality. Check them out at forwardmx.net. Again, really cool, like niche email service. I love the email. And our friends over at Laravel Nightwatch. Just a great name. Nightwatch sees what other monitoring apps can't in Laravel apps. Take 2 minutes to set up the free plan right now. And before this episode of Mostly Technical is done, you might uncover rogue queries, misconfigured middleware hiding in plain sight, or the dreaded N+1. Check that out at nightwatch.laravel.com. Thanks to ForwardMX and Laravel Nightwatch for sponsoring. I've been seeing people talking about Nightwatch and being like, oh, it found like a zillion things wrong in the first 5 minutes, and I
Yep.
had to go fix everything. So it does seem quite powerful and cool. I'm pretty
You
excited.
know, whoever wrote that little blurb for that that ad read, they were on it. The
That
whole
was a good
like
one.
before this episode is over, you
Yeah.
could that's
That's
good.
a good one. I don't know if
Good
that's
job,
Tank
good
or
job, Henry.
Sam or somebody else.
It might be.
Whoever it was, I'd say that was a really good one. Yeah. Good
That
job,
was a good
guys.
one.
Yeah. So I'm excited to try Night Watch. I haven't pushed that button yet on the outro because now in Laravel Cloud, you just like a little button right there. It's like
Yep.
boom, install Night Watch. So I have not pushed the button just yet, but I will be pushing that button. I saw they up the resources or something for the free plan. I didn't read the whole.
They doubled the
thing.
number of events.
Okay, cool.
That can come in. Yeah.
Guess that makes sense. Like start lower, see how it goes, make sure it's all.
Yeah, that's
good.
the chief complaint I've seen from people who like to complain is
Right.
there aren't enough events. Like they burned through the free tier in like a day or a day and a half.
Yeah.
Part of me is sympathetic to that. Part of me is not. But I do think where I am sympathetic is like on these relatively low traffic sites, you're just getting hammered with like cache hits, database queries, all this stuff where it's like I'm not even really doing that much. I don't need to know about all the
Right.
cache hits or
I don't care
whatever.
about that. Yeah.
And so they've also introduced some ways to turn off some tracking of things, I think. But yeah, doubling the events and introducing ways to turn it off and educating about sampling, I think has been relatively important. So
Yeah, I saw they had sampling, I guess, so they can that would obviously lower a lot if you're willing to sample
yeah.
instead of pipe it right in. This is just honestly a problem where it's gonna be hard for me to move HelpSpot over to Night Watch because it's just we're on the original bug snag plan for $30 a month, and we literally send to 8 billion events a month. Something insane. They're losing a lot of money on us, but I don't know. That's probably not true. I'm sure they're making money, but still, I don't know how we move it over. I guess we could sample something like that, but I'm going to start with outro first. Fresh, clean.
Yep. Makes sense.
And then actually for HelpSpot, there's some stuff Night Watch doesn't do just yet anyway, which wouldn't be quite ideal, which we talked to him about. So hopefully stuff will get there and I'll make it that easier. So at some point we transition, but we'll put in an outro. So that'll be where I get to play with it. But
Give us the outro update.
Outro update. Quick, I only have a couple little things. Did a bunch of stuff over the weekend. Had the AI workers out there working in the AI streets. Did run a test yesterday that I did a tweet on Blue Sky about, whatever they call it there, which is this is the hardest thing I've asked it to do, which was a transistor FM integration to pull in your stats. So you can I'm not going to pull in like everything, but it's just like, hey, what are my like all-time downloads? What are like this episode's downloads, right? Couple basic things like that. And I'm sure we'll do the other ones at some point too, but just starting with transistors, friends of the show. And and their API was like really straightforward. It's like just the API key, nothing crazy.
Their API is good.
Yeah, so it's like good. This is a great thing to test it on and to start with. So I gave that to Claude Code and I gave it to Codex.
And you liked Codex better.
I mean, I think Claude Code literally took hours to complete.
What?
It ran out of tokens. It got stuck. It literally it's bouncing the dock every 2 minutes, asking me questions. It's like making me insane. It's like should I do this? Should I do that? Can I do this? Can I do that? And the Codex has no questions. It literally can't ask you a question. It just goes off and figures it out. So
I think you're using it wrong. I don't know what you're doing, but you're doing it wrong.
Can I remove this file? Can I make this file? Can I run this?
You gotta just hit. You gotta hit yes and don't ask me again.
I do. For all those commands, I hit yes, but it kept finding new stuff to do that I hadn't confirmed that it can do. I know there is a mode that just like lets it do anything, which I didn't put it in that mode. So
I don't either.
On my local computer, like that's
I don't
a little
put it in that mode.
Yeah, I don't know. So
hours. It shouldn't be hours.
It took hours.
I've never had Claude Code do anything for more than like 10 minutes.
It was literally an hour and a half, 2 hours, and it was a big project.
This feels like an Ian problem to me.
Listen,
I don't know what you're doing, but it's wonky.
The test, though. This is why I ran the test, because Codex, it took it took like 12 or 15 minutes. Didn't ask me anything. It wasn't perfect, but neither was Claude Codes. Claude Codes had like 30 extra files over codexes and all kinds of crazy stuff. This is the other thing I don't like about Claude Code, although I have seen this a little more in Codex lately as the project gets bigger. Claude Code loves to like worm its way into things I didn't ask it to do.
Yeah.
And so like there's like 10 files of the 50 it made that were like just unrelated to this transistor integration. It's like it saw something wrong, but it wasn't necessarily wrong, but it just went in and messed with it. So now it's like you gotta be carefully go through and be like, oh, you changed this thing I don't want you to change.
Right.
And like, so
I don't like that. It does do that to me sometimes.
Yeah. And Codex is being a little worse about that as the project gets bigger. I have noticed there'll be like 1 or 2, or they'll tweak something in a test. And sometimes it is just a pure fix, but it's still a little annoying because it's like, well, I didn't ask you to fix this unrelated test, like just stick with what you're doing here. But so I don't know, man. I tried to give it another shot. There is aspects of the Claude I'd like better. I definitely think in the IDE, I like the Claude better than the OpenAI models for some reason. Although I had to say, like last night, it was even doing some weird stuff there, but I don't know, man. So anyway, did this big transistor integration, which is kind of cool. Still some things to work out. It's like I do the big pass with the AI, and then I kind of go in and
that's the move.
Clean up and have the AI clean up in like more detailed spots. I'll probably work on that tonight a little bit later to have it clean it up. But members, I want to be able to email these members who signed up. I went on a little side adventure. I was like, this is SaaS. I can do sassy things.
This is the side adventure. What do you mean you went on a side adventure? Side adventures have side adventures.
This type side adventure where it was a side adventure. The side
pejorative. Okay, but carry on. Totally separate. Keep going.
But I was like, it's a SaaS. For my uploading files, I'll just use one of these file uploader things. That's like a SaaS. I just pay some money, whatever. So ChatGPT recommended Upload Care. I think it's called Upload Care.
It's a big one. Mm-hmm.
And it was fine, but there's all these little niggles with it. If you want to have multiple on the page, it doesn't really like that, or at least the docs are weird on it. It couldn't really help me. I eventually got it sort of figured out. I don't know, but then there was a bunch of other weird things with it. And then there's like the data limits and all that stuff, and it's more expensive, their storage, of course, than if it's just sitting in S3 or R2 or whatever. I scrapped that and went to the regular like Livewire file uploading direct to S3 and whatever, which was a big change. So I haven't actually looked through that one yet totally. I want to be able to send some screenshots when I send this first.
Yeah, we need the screenshots.
Or
I
want to be able to send a picture of my slide. Yes. So right now I can't send any attachments. The other factor is that sending an actual email. This is another complaint I have, because like the email sending options of the like API based email sending, it's like only a couple of them do the inbound. And I need the inbound.
You need the inbound.
I need the inbound. So that limits a bunch right there. And then the ones that do the inbound are insane. It's like pricing wise. I don't know how people make this work. It's like Postmark or whatever. It's like the pricing is nuts. Like if you want to be able to just let people send, basically, I mean, I prefer it to be unlimited, like with some kind of like fair use type of thing, like where you can't go totally nuts. But like, I don't really want to be like, oh, you send, 7 emails and you only get 6 and whatever. Like, I just wanted people to be free to email, right? And so, but the cost is nuts. Like, an AWS SES is literally 1/10 the price. So now I've heard bad things about that, right? It's like you're more on your own and all the stuff.
You are on your own,
but it's 1/10 the price. So I also feel like there's like nothing else even close to it. So whatever, I got set up on SES. I got out of the sandbox.
You're raw dogging it. You're doing SES.
Well, I'm gonna start there in this like beta period. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if it can deliver stuff or not. I mean, listen, I get emails all the time that are from SES, and you see it's like the click tracking from AWS or whatever. So like people are sending stuff with it. So presumably it's possible. It's the only way I could see it where I won't have to worry about the cost, and I could just be like, yeah, go hog wild, email your whole lists. I don't care about it. Otherwise I'm going to need to like be cautious, and I don't want to be cautious. I just want to be like, go.
We want to be
like, I want to be cautious and like having some spam checks, and I won't let people abuse it and all that stuff. But I don't want to worry about the cost of it. And it's 1/10 the price of every other tool. So I don't know. And it's like, they're like learning phase is like 50,000 emails a day, whereas like all these other services, like, well, you can start with 100 emails a day and then you can send 300. It's like, this one's just like, AWS just like, yeah, how about it? Like, and let us know if you need more. Whatever. So I've got that set up, but I haven't sent an email to it yet. I haven't like tested anything. So I got a little work to do there.
So that's outbound.
That's outbound.
Okay.
Inbound.
So for inbound, have you Well, first of all, have you looked at friend of the show Forward MX? I don't know if that's
I don't know if
forwarding.
it's
So I don't know
yeah.
if that's quite right.
Yeah, I
Have
don't
you
think so.
looked
I
at
don't think it is.
have you looked in your bag at Cloudflare?
Cloudflare doesn't do much of the email stuff. Last I checked,
They
they
have
have an email API.
they have inbound email routing. Yep. So I'm looking at it right now. You
So,
can add a forward, which is probably not what you're looking
right,
for.
that's still just going to send it to a mailbox.
But I think what you can also do is route it to a Cloudflare worker.
To a worker. I think I did know about that actually.
I'm trying to find
But
email
you can't
beta.
send out through it. So I guess it
Well,
would
you
be
don't need
just the
to.
inbound.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
don't need to. You've got SCS for that.
right. Man, I don't want to deal
Yeah,
with a
I'd have to
worker
look.
though.
What?
I don't really want to deal with a worker, but
No, you don't.
maybe it's
But
the way
I
to go.
wonder if
I
you
hadn't
probably
considered that.
can't just have it post directly. You probably have to go through a worker to do that.
I think you're gonna have to go through a worker to like get it parsed and stuff. Maybe if we could just route to R2 and then I just suck it up from R2. Like that's basically the
Yeah.
SES flow.
Yeah.
But then it's not really giving me anything. The biggest downside of AWS is that the inbound, they don't do anything. They're just like, here's a raw MIME email. I shove it on S3 for you. And you have to like parse it and all that, which sucks because parsing the
Wait,
email
so
is
SCS will
terrible.
take inbound as well?
Yeah, that's why I like it. One of the reasons, and it's 1/10 the
Oh,
cost, but it also accept your inbound, but it doesn't do anything. So this is where like Postmark is superior for inbound because
right.
they parse it and make it a nice JSON thing, and they're like, here's a nice
They'll
JSON
post a
thing,
body
and
to you. Yeah.
they'll just send it as a webhook, and it's like all magical. Which I guess how does that all work? I guess I could use Postmark for inbound and SES for outbound.
No, there are libraries to do mime parsing.
There are. I mean, we use them.
You just do that.
The PHP ones are a little not as
Little jank.
robust, a little less robust than like the Node ones and stuff, but I don't really want to use Node again, get into JavaScript and all that world, but it's a possibility. I'll probably just do the PHP one start. I mean, the inbound's going to be way less than the outbounds.
Yeah.
It's not as much of a thing. Oh, I mean, at some point it could be a fair volume inbound, but we got a lot of customers, but it's fine. I mean, we've been parsing email with PHP for 20 years
Yeah.
here, so it's doable. It's just a little more work and a little more annoying. It has to be. There's less precision required for this, and there's less like other features based around it. It's going to be just like here's the body of an email and attachments if there are any. So I think that part is good. Yeah.
It all comes back to email. It's
It all comes back
all
to
for
email.
you. It's always email.
And it's never easy with the email. There's always all this complexity with the email. It's never, even if it's SaaS and you can use a service and all the stuff, it's not direct IMAP connections like we do in HubSpot and stuff. Still always weird complexity. I don't know why AWS won't parse it for you. That would be very nice, but they don't. So whatever. You could obviously do like send this SNS notification to Lambda and blah, 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 like all this stuff. And it's like, I don't want to get into all that complexity either. I just want to like have it be more straightforward. So, yeah, which also kind of means S3 instead of R2 because this thing's going to, presumably it can't drop it off in R2. So I'll probably just use S3. But whatever. There's some cool stuff because it's like Amazon recognition for like filter out like swastikas and other bad stuff could be useful. So
You're building a help desk.
Yeah,
you haven't said it yet, but you're building a help desk. You're building,
a help desk.
You're building a
podcasts.
way to send and receive emails and have an inbox, and you're building a help desk again.
And let me tell
you've had one idea and it keeps working.
Guarantee you, one of the very first requests you're going to get is like, we need to assign this to one of the hosts or whatever. And honestly, I already built that, but can sort of assign it. Like once you put an email associated with an episode,
trying to complain about future requests, and you're like, well, I've actually already built that. So
because each segment on an episode can be assigned to one or multiple hosts or producers.
Yeah.
So like, you can associate the mailbag item with the episode, and then you could assign it. It's a little different than some people might want, but whatever. The other thing is, so that was kind of the big update, but the other thing is I've been playing with PodScan.
Yeah.
Which is Arvid's app. For those who don't know, it's like I mean, it's completely nuts.
It
He's literally
is.
ingesting every podcast
Yeah.
ever in the past, as well as every podcast in real time, and transcribing all of them,
Yep.
and then making that available as an API that you can do all kinds of pretty cool stuff with. So that could save me quite a bit of work.
So then you get for just for further context on Podscan, you can sign up and be like, "Hey, I want to monitor the keyword Aaron Francis or
Yep.
Postgres on all, on all podcasts." And then I'll get emails from Podscan. It's like, "Hey, this episode talked about you." Or you could do like competitive research. You can say like, I want to hear anytime someone mentions Help Scout, because that's likely going to be an ad, and I probably want to go advertise over there as well. So
Yep.
Arvid is either listening or is getting a lot of alerts right now, because I'm sure he has Podscan as a keyword. So
I would think.
Podscan.
Yep.
Hi, Arvid. So carry on.
Yeah. So I think there's like kind of two parts to it, which I think are both fascinating. It's like, yes, like brand slash intelligence, right? Around everything you described there. And then like the other side of it is like just having all this data in a format so that podcast related tools can build on
Right.
top of that data, right?
Mhm.
Which is like my angle on it. So it's very interesting. I definitely recommend you check it out. He changed the pricing recently, which is sort of interesting. Like when I first looked, it was $39, and then I went back to buy it, and it was $200 a month. But I was like, oh, I'm just gonna pay $200, can support Arvid, and I'll hopefully be using a fair amount of API calls, and it gives you access to some other stuff, whatever. So we're positioning it more towards like the brands who can afford to pay, like away from like kind of bootstrappiness, which I
Right.
think is smart. Like if you're that interested in competitive research on people advertising on other podcasts, people talking about podcasts about you on podcasts, like you probably have $200 a month to pay for this. So
Yeah, I would think so.
yeah, so I think that's
What are
cool.
you using it for?
So I'm not using it for anything just yet, but what I want to do is, so I kind of envision the onboarding here as like the first thing is like give us your feed URL, and then I can like suck in all the stuff from the feed,
Sure.
your show art and the title and whatever, right? So I have to ask you for all that stuff. But with Arvid's Podscan, like he has all that stuff. So first of all, I can now just like go, okay, this is the feed. I can search on that. I can be like, okay, this is the podcast, and I can get that basic information. He has a whole bunch of other information I could pull in. But then the more interesting part is every time there's a new episode of a podcast that's run with outro, then I want to know about that so I can map the new published episode to the episode outline they created when they recorded
Right.
the show, so I can have that connected. And I can have like, then I can pull in your stats from Transistor and whatever. And more importantly, I can get the transcription from Podscan, so I can put it in my own thing, so we can do just, of course, just regular searching, but also some AI fancy stuff if we have the
Mhm.
transcriptions. One of the things I want is just like when you go look at, like, if we were recording this week's show, right? It's like, okay, we have like our segments that we've set up, but I would like to see just a quick summary, and kind of not just a summary really, but also storylines from last week's show or maybe the last
Mhm.
several weeks show. So it's like, this is what we were talking about. These are the kind of the story arcs we've been on over the last month. Just to kind of keep that in your
Yep.
head of like, oh, maybe we don't need to talk about that again, but maybe we do. Like, I wanted to follow up on that or whatever. And like just having that there fresh. Also just real time to be able to search through the transcriptions, whatever. So I want the transcriptions. So obviously I could build all that stuff. Like I could check the RSS feeds of all the shows, and I could transcribe them and blah, blah. But he's already done
Nah.
all that. So
Nah.
I don't want to do all that.
Let him
And
do that.
yeah, I want to let him do that. So that's kind of the plan. It's not like the core of the app, but it is like tangential to the core, which is a little weird. Like I'm not used to these kind of like external dependencies, which is kind of the main interesting bit to talk about, of like whatever. This is like a one guy thing, right? It seems like he's getting close to break even, I think.
Yeah.
He could go away tomorrow, and now you have this thing that's core to your app ish, and now it's gone. Again, since it's not like Outro wouldn't run without it, I think it's okay. And whatever, we could pull a long weekend and like grind
You
up
could
the
rebuild it if you
replacement
had to.
if we absolutely had to, we could put up a rough replacement. But yeah, so I don't know, there's other things too that I think are interesting by having the whole podcast universe in this subscription. Like one of the things I thought could be cool, if you're an Outro customer, like maybe you get those mentions you're talking about. So like maybe it's like, hey, who's mentioning Mostly Technical and Aaron
Oh,
Francis and
that's
Ian Landsman?
yeah.
And this
That's
is now
clever.
included in your outro. I did a little bit of work on that quickly. It's of course not quite as easy as you would hope because let me tell you, for example, I used mostly technical
Mhm.
and I just searched mostly technical. And it's like comes up everywhere, all kinds of stuff. People
Yeah.
saying mostly technical, just in other contexts, totally unrelated to us. So I was like, all right, well, Aaron Francis. That's I thought a unique name. Not very
Mm-mm.
unique. There's apparently a
No,
rugby guy called Aaron Francis. The first
there
thing I
sure
get is
is.
like Aaron Francis, redheaded, hunky guy, super hunky, all this stuff. And I was
You're
like,
like, what the hell?
that,
He doesn't have
what
red
the
hair. Yeah.
I was like, he's hunky, but he doesn't have red
Come
hair.
on.
What's
Yeah.
going on? So I don't know. Obviously, some of that's even probably fine, but I don't know. I haven't played with it too much yet, but I thought that could be a cool thing. Again, that this
Yeah,
data
that would be
provide that,
cool.
and that's something I wouldn't be able to do without Podscan for sure. Like that's a Podscan
No
exclusive
way.
because I'd
Yeah.
have to parse every podcast and blah, blah, blah. I'm not doing any of that. So that's an interesting thing. That would be like a pure external dependency that would be like irreplaceable. So I don't know. I don't know about these external dependencies. A little weird, but I'm just gonna kind of embrace it. This is a side project. Whatever. I'm gonna go with it. Maybe I'll do that kind of mentions tab in there somewhere, like where you've been mentioned. Could be sort of interesting, but I don't know. I don't
It's
know.
cool. I love it.
Yeah, that's the
This is
update.
turning out great. I'm excited to see this go live.
Yeah, hopefully by next week at least. I'm
Wow.
sending emails. Not going live next week, but sending emails. And then, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say how long to go live. We do have like Laracon coming up. I have vacation after
Yeah.
that. So there's some stuff in here that could get in the
I
way of
know.
like it actually. I don't think I'd want to launch it before that stuff because I hate to like launch something and then like people have problems. I'm not around,
Yeah.
blah, blah. So I think the earliest it would launch would be like mid to late August, just because I would want to have like my schedule kind of clear.
Still, it's pretty fast.
Yeah, I mean, it's going really fast. I mean, we're definitely getting to more of the like the stuff that AI isn't quite as good at,
Yeah.
like this integrations or things like that, or just bigger, more, but also more subtle features or things that cross interact or stuff where it's going to be more, I think, like telling the AI very specifically what to do in a pretty narrow scope and then doing that over and over versus
Yep.
just like saying, go through this whole thing and add this feature and it makes a million files. So it's going to slow down in some ways a little bit, but yeah, like the core, make a list of stuff you want to talk about. That's all there. The member stuff's a lot there other than actually sending. The mailbag's not there at all, so gotta do that. Oh, this is another thing I do want to add. This is your advice from the first show is I think I do want to manage the guest scheduling. I think that would be a good one
Ah,
because I did
cool.
some ChatGPT deep research, sent ChatGPT off, and like there was
Yeah.
tons of people complaining about like using Calendly
Yep.
and paying for Calendly just to schedule and
Yep.
blah blah blah. So it's like I don't need everything Calendly does. It's like
No.
you connect your calendar, you show some available dates, probably not too terrible, and it is like a thing that a certain group of podcasts I think would really love. So, and those are also the ones that are probably better customers. Like
Yeah.
you have a successful interview show. We know the interview shows do well. So yeah.
Yep. I love it. I think
I
you should
did
do
see
that.
one scary thing that scared me on
Tell
this
me.
whole idea, but I'm just building it because I don't care because it's a side project and we're just going. But in Podscan, he's got a thing that estimates kind of your forget what he calls it, but it's like success,
Okay.
influence. I think it might be
Yeah.
influence or something like that. And it's like mostly technical is like in the top 4% of podcasts,
Oh,
which is,
wow.
which is
That's
awesome
great.
for us. I
Yeah.
love that for
That's
us.
bad for market, but
It's a
that's
little
great for
bad.
us.
I'm a little like, well, we don't really make that much money on mostly technical.
No, we
So like
sure
if we're
don't.
in the top 4%, like I don't know who's gonna have money to buy this thing, but I don't care about that. We're gonna
That's right.
build it. Maybe
Blinders on.
we figure out how to make money after. We're in the good spot where we can afford to do that. So that's what we're gonna do. But I was a little like, that's kind of interesting.
Yep.
But I also like it for us.
I
So that
love
works
that
out.
for us. That's great news. Let's hit that top 3%. We got to step it
Yeah,
up.
let's keep going.
Here's an interesting thing that you might people might start requesting is workflows. I think people might want
What do you mean?
like let's say a guest picks a time slot and then you've got to kick off an email or a research or like send them a doc for preparation, because I've gotten a lot of these things where it's like,
Okay.
hey, here's how to be on a podcast, and
Yep.
I'm like, yeah, I got it. Don't worry
Right.
about it. But then after the episode goes live, I get another email from an assistant. It's like, hey, the episode is live. It's here, here, and here. Here's a clip
Yep.
you can use to promote it, that sort of thing. So
I was
serious
already
people might want workflows, which is a
yeah.
whole can of worms.
I was planning on doing that already. Not the post one's interesting and harder, right? But definitely the pre ones. I feel like that's because that to me is like, hey, your recording URL is the same. The shtick of how to be on a podcast interview is
Yeah.
the same, right? So definitely like when the person schedules their time, they get the email that's like the welcome email. Maybe there's like a reminder email, like, hey, don't forget tomorrow or whatever, blah, blah. So definitely some of that stuff. I wasn't necessarily thinking about as like a super flexible system, more of a like, hey, we know you're using this for a podcast, so we are going to do a podcast oriented workflow that's inflexible, but also probably just correct for how most people use it. Like maybe you could turn these on and off or whatever.
Yeah.
The
You could
post
probably
one,
get away with two different node types. One is send an email, the other is to do item. That's probably
something like
enough
that. Yeah,
to
yeah.
start.
To do, that's kind of interesting. Yeah. Yeah, something like that. I definitely think like the idea of like some kind of research, kind of like some AI angle in there too, of like, hey, come up with some possible questions for this person, do a first pass and have it all integrated in or whatever. Yeah.
I
But
mean,
if that gets built
I would
out,
use that for database school. I would use
right.
the scheduling thing for sure,
Yep.
100%. I would use the pre-email, and then I would use just like simple to-dos, which is, like you're not gonna create clips
Interesting
for
to
me,
do's.
right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
after the podcast goes out, I want a to-do that's like, 3, 7, and 14 days out of post a clip. And that's just
Yeah.
like if I don't do that, or if I don't have that to do, I basically just kind of post the episode and move on.
Yeah.
So
That's another place to have to-dos though. Do you feel like people I feel like that could be worrisome, but maybe it's like baked in there still better because it's like we could put it in front of their face that like they have to do this.
yeah, I think it's okay because it's like it the to do is in the domain where you're
Yeah.
doing the podcast, right? So like
Right.
I'm okay if this is my podcasting planning operational organizational dashboard. I'm okay with
Yeah.
it saying, hey, you have these 4 things related to podcasts that you have not yet done.
It could be an interesting middle ground because as we talked about, I kind of want to do like the buffer replacement, but I think that's like definitely not a V1 type thing. And
Yeah.
that's longer term. But like having a like, hey, here's like a dated to do, like obviously is a simple thing that we could have. That's just in. I don't know where we put it exactly because it wouldn't be just for guests necessarily
No, it could
either.
be for anything. Yeah.
Is it really just part of the episodes? Like each episode has potential like to-dos. I feel like that's the more logical spot for them.
Probably.
Do you know what I'm saying? And
But
then
when
maybe
I
you could
log into
upload clips there.
outro.fm/dashboard, I want to see to dos,
Right.
even if they
Definitely.
belong to episodes.
Right. Across the episodes. It's like,
Right.
because I think it's going to be kind of standard, right? It's like you have like a central place where you schedule these, and you could, of course, manually add more, but it's like every time a new episode's built, just add the like 1, 3, 7 day to dos for posting social media clips or whatever, and maybe let me upload the clip there. I don't know if you need to do that. I guess at some point when you when it actually does it for you,
Yeah, if
would,
it did it for me, that would be even better. But for now, if it just was like, hey, don't forget, you decided this was the best practice. Don't forget to do it.
Yep.
That'd be nice.
I like this idea. All right. I like that. I think that works.
I think the guest scheduling is going to be
big one, right?
huge. Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking
Because
about you when you said
we
more.
used SavvyCal for a while, and it was like really nice, but extremely overpowered for what we were using it for.
Right.
Way too many settings, configurations. It was like, I don't need all of this.
Yep.
And so now we just use Google's built-in scheduling thing, and it's fine.
Right.
But I would like to have, hey, I am available to record these database school episodes these days, these times. It's not every day, it's not every time. And if I have something on my calendar there, you can't pick that one. But then just like let the system manage all that. That'd be great. I would love that.
Yeah. And that doesn't seem too, I'm sure there's obviously the subtleties, but it's not too crazy to build. I like that. All right, good ideas here.
This is what we're here for.
Good ideas. I like it. This thing is so overpowered. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be nuts.
It's gonna be crazy.
It's gonna be crazy, but it'll be unique. Nothing else out there like it.
You know what? Just keep going full send. I love it. I think it's great.
That's the plan. All right. I don't know. Anything else going on?
Nah.
No final thoughts?
No final thoughts.
All right. Well, then thank you everybody for listening. Check us out, mostlytechnical.com. Sponsor the show. We got slots open for next month and beyond. So sponsor the show. Tell your friends. Rate us on Apple and whatever Google has. I have no idea. Rate us out there. And thanks for listening.
Get us into the 3%, folks. Come on. This 4%'s for the birds. Get us up there.
We want to be the 1%ers.
We do,
1%ers.
you know?
Thanks for listening. We will see you next week. Later.
See ya.